Have you ever met someone who says they want love, but then pulls away the moment things start getting serious? Maybe they disappear when emotions come up, or they shut down during deep conversations. They seem to crave connection, yet they fear it at the same time. You might think they're just emotionally cold or playing games, but it's much deeper than that. This is psychology. Today, we're going to uncover the real reasons some people avoid relationships. Relationship avoidance isn't about not caring. In fact, many people with avoidant tendencies feel things very deeply. But somewhere along the line, their mind and nervous system learned a powerful rule: closeness equals danger. In this video, we're going to explore what relationship avoidance really is, where it comes from, how it shows up in adult relationships, and most importantly, whether avoidant people can actually change. So, what is relationship avoidance? At its core, it's a defense mechanism. It's often linked to what psychologists call an avoidant attachment style, a deep-seated fear of vulnerability and a powerful drive for emotional self-protection. People with avoidant patterns place a high value on their independence and emotional control. But underneath that strong exterior is often a hidden fear of relying on others. They might have subconscious beliefs like, if I get too close, I'll lose myself, or if I need someone, I'll inevitably get hurt. So, instead of risking the pain of intimacy, they keep an emotional distance. This isn't usually a conscious choice. It's an automatic, ingrained response. It's a way to feel safe in a world that once taught them that emotional connection was unsafe. To truly understand avoidance, we need to go back to the beginning and talk about attachment theory. Our early relationships with caregivers create a blueprint for how we connect with others as adults. An avoidant attachment style often forms in childhood when a child's emotional needs were consistently dismissed or ignored. Maybe their caregivers were emotionally unavailable, inconsistent, or just didn't know how to respond when the child was vulnerable or upset. When a child reaches out for comfort and doesn't receive it, they learn a tough lesson. I can't depend on anyone. I have to handle my emotions all by myself. This becomes their survival strategy. It's a brilliant adaptation for a child in that environment. But that same strategy follows them into adulthood, where genuine closeness can feel unfamiliar, overwhelming, and deeply unsafe, even if it's what they secretly long for. So let us be clear. Avoidance isn't really a fear of commitment in the way we usually think about it. It's a fear of emotional exposure. For someone with an avoidant attachment style, intimacy can trigger their nervous system's alarm bells. As a relationship deepens and emotional closeness increases, it can feel like a loss of freedom, a threat of being controlled, or an overwhelming emotional trap. Their brain starts screaming danger. So what do? They pull away. They shut down. They emotionally disconnect. This isn't a calculated act of manipulation to hurt you. It's their fight-or-flight response kicking in. It's a desperate attempt to get back to a state of emotional safety and self-regulation. Their system is trying to protect them from a perceived threat, even if that threat is the very love and connection they desire. So how does this actually show up in relationships? It can be really confusing. Often it starts with strong chemistry and intense connection early on. Everything feels amazing. But then, just as things start getting real, there's a sudden shift. They create distance. They might start avoiding deep emotional conversations or change the subject when things get too vulnerable. They might complain about feeling suffocated or needing more space, especially right after a moment of closeness. Another common pattern is that they start focusing on their partner's flaws or finding reasons why the relationship won't work right when intimacy starts to increase. This is their subconscious way of creating an escape route. They may care about you deeply, but they struggle to stay emotionally present when it matters the most. Because that's when their internal alarms are blaring the loudest. And this brings us to the paradox of avoidance. Here's the heart of the struggle. People with avoidant attachment often desperately want love, but they don't feel safe receiving it. They crave deep connection, but they're terrified of the vulnerability that comes with it. They want to be seen and understood, but they're afraid of being engulfed or abandoned. So, to protect themselves from this perceived danger, they keep everyone at arm's length. This self-protection strategy, while effective in the short term, ultimately leads to a profound sense of loneliness. It's a lonely place to be, not because they don't want relationships, but because the very thing they want feels like the biggest threat of all. So, the big question is, can avoidant people change? The answer is a hopeful yes, but it won't happen through pressure, criticism, or ultimatums. Trying to force them to be more open will only activate their defense mechanisms more. Real healing happens through a few key steps. First is awareness, recognizing the patterns and understanding where they come from without judgment. Next is creating a sense of emotional safety. They need to learn, slowly and experientially, that vulnerability doesn't have to equal danger. It's a process of rewiring the nervous system to understand that it's safe to lean on someone, to need someone, and to be needed in return. Avoidance is a learned behavior. And the good news is that anything that has been learned can be unlearned. If you recognize these patterns in yourself, please know you're not broken. You're not a bad person. You've simply adapted to survive your early environment. And if you love someone who is avoidant, try to remember that their distance is almost always rooted in fear, not a lack of care. It's about their past, not your worth. True understanding is where healing begins for everyone involved. This is Mind Over Meaning. If this video resonated with you, please consider subscribing for more content. Thank you for watching.